Well, that's not good.
What's up guys, Michael here, and today we're looking at the Realme 7, a phone priced at just £179 in the UK, and comes with it a lot of features that you would expect on a higher end phone. So let's start with the build quality, and earlier you did see me squeaking this part of the phone like this, and yes, just above the fingerprint scanner there is a slight creak and click. Now I'm going to be nice about this and I'm not going to judge the build quality on this clicking sound because I am borrowing this from a friend. I haven't opened this from new, and maybe he's dropped it or sat on it or something, I don't know. But overall the quality and the build is actually pretty good. Yes, it's made out of plastic, but the feel and finish on the back feels great. They've used this nice matte finish that feels really good, and compared to a lot of glossy phones, can stay in your hand much better without slipping out or anything like that. This color that I've got is called Mist Blue, and depending on the light, it kind of goes from baby blue to white depending on the angle of the light it's in. It has a very solid feel to it. This weighs 196 grams and they haven't gone overboard on trying to make it thin or anything, so it feels like a proper bit of kit in your hand, and if it fails, you can just hit someone with it. The good feeling continues with the Haptic Engine. For this price, the phone has a great vibration motor and you can actually feel the individual keys as you're typing, whereas a lot of phones, a lot of cheaper phones, you can feel the whole screen vibrating when you're typing, although I have to say it does get quite loud. At the bottom of the device, you also get a headphone jack and a USB-C port. There's also a side-mounted fingerprint scanner which does work well. There's also a dual SIM card slot for 2 SIM cards and expandable storage up to 256 gigabytes. So if we look at the spec list, there's a lot here to get excited about. The 90Hz screen, the 5000 mAh battery, but the one thing that stood out for me was the chip. It's actually a Heilo G95 gaming processor, which when you use those words for your chip, gaming processor, you kind of expect a lot. Now we'll get to gaming in a moment, but what impressed me most was how snappy the phone felt when using it in general. Opening apps loaded quickly, there was no lag when multitasking, scrolling was very buttery, and overall it was just a really nice experience. Being £179, I was skeptical on its gaming performance, so I did start it off with something simple like Skyforce, and it had no problems. So then I moved on to Asphalt 9, and that Heilo G95 gaming processor crushed it. Absolutely killed it. I put it on the highest settings possible. It didn't glitch once, it didn't lag once. It looks absolutely fantastic. You can tell here that the frame rate and the graphics are set to super high, and the whole gaming experience was great. I was honestly really impressed, and the phone didn't really heat up that much either. I then moved on to PUBG. From start to finish, I didn't encounter any major issues. Gameplay was great, from the loading screen to the plane to parachuting to going down, to this moment here where I encountered a gentleman with an automatic rifle and that I happily punched to the floor. I hope he remembers me. And I've got to say, for £179, I'd be pretty happy with this level of performance. The display is a 6.5-inch near bezel-less 1080p 90Hz panel with a hole punch cutout, and the viewing experience is pretty good when viewing movies or YouTube or gaming or anything like that. And you know what's great about this 90Hz to screen is that the chipset, that gaming G95, can keep up the processing power to make sure those apps run smoothly so you can take advantage of that 90Hz display. And overall, it gives it a much more premium touch and experience. The punch hole selfie camera is a 16 megapixel wide angle. You have a 64 megapixel primary camera, an 8 megapixel ultra wide, a black and white portrait lens, and a macro lens. The good news is that the main lens takes pretty good photos in daylight. It has good color balance, good dynamic range, and doesn't over sharpen like a lot of the other budget phones. And again, considering the price, I would be really happy with this. Now you can also go into the full 64 megapixel mode, which will get you a lot of detail in your pictures if you want to blow them up or crop. And if we zoom in here, you can see how much detail you get in the building. And overall, the images are crisp and sharp with plenty of detail and good exposure. The wide-angle lens is 119 degrees. It takes good shots with good dynamic range. Again, a little soft around the edges, and it does have this weird tendency I've noticed to have a green tint in some of the pictures, but hopefully that can be fixed in software updates. Okay, so now we get to the waster lenses, those two lenses that Realme feel they have to put on so they can say they have a quad camera setup on a phone for £179. The macro lens is pretty useless, it doesn't focus very well, doesn't gain a lot of detail, and again is 2 megapixels. The black and white lens I don't think many people will use. If you like that kind of photography, then great, but overall I think it's quite a useless addition. Okay, so don't let that take you away from the cameras on this phone, because the main sensor that you will be using is fantastic and the ultra-wide is really fun to use. Going back to the main sensor, it surprised me with its nighttime performance. Even without the night mode turned on, it produces great images, and when you do turn on the night mode, you can capture a lot, and there are some really cool film simulation modes that make the pictures pop at night, and the night mode can also be used with the ultra-wide sensor. This is what video looks like on the forward-facing camera. It shoots at 30 frames per second at 1080p or 720p, and this is what it looks like walking along. You can hear my voice on the microphone, and yes, I have just got out of bed and thought it would be a good idea to come up here. Don't judge my sleepy face. Video on the main sensor goes up to 4K and looks decent. Colors are slightly oversaturated in my personal opinion, and the stabilization isn't as smooth as it is when shooting in 1080p, which can go all the way up to 60 frames per second and provides a much smoother experience when walking and panning. And overall, the footage on these cameras are very usable if you want to vlog or do something more than upload to Instagram or Facebook. And all of that was before I discovered you could film super slow-mo on the front-facing camera. Battery life has been fantastic. It's 5,000 milliamp hours, and I've been ending the day with around 30 to 40% left. And if you're a light user, this could definitely be a 2-day phone. And if you do need to charge up the phone quickly, it comes with a 30-watt fast charger that will charge up 50% in under 30 minutes. The phone comes running Android 10 with Realme's software UI based on top, and it's a clean experience with minimal bloatware. You do get some Google apps baked in, but nothing too horrendous like advertisements or anything like that. So I've been testing a lot of budget phones over the last few months, and with all of them, even though they had some nice features and some nice hardware options, I never thought that if my current phone, that's being used to film, the OnePlus 7 Pro, if that ever broke and I had to pick up another one of those phones, I'd rather just buy a new phone. This is the first phone where I would think, yeah, I could use that in my daily life quite comfortably. There were a few things that won me over. I think the first one that I immediately noticed was the speed, which I'm always worried about on lower end phones, but the way this thing opened apps and was able to handle that gameplay on Asphalt 9 and PUBG really impressed me. The other thing was the screen, so it's 90% screen to body ratio, makes it look nice and modern. I don't mind the hole punch camera, I think it looks fine, and 90 Hz, man, you just can't go back. You can't go back from 90 Hz, I swear to God. And the last thing was the camera. It takes great pictures in the day, and in low light and nighttime, even though there are a few improvements that need to be made, I'll be pretty happy for the performance at this price. And that's just it, a phone that can play games at the highest settings, take good photos, has a long battery life with a 90 Hz refresh and nice screen. Pretty good. So let me know in the comments what you think of the Realme 7, and if you did enjoy this video, it'd be fantastic if you could subscribe and then ding that notifications bell so you know when I've uploaded a new video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.